Hi guys, we're going to do some review on finding domain and range, just discrete data. Remember that discrete data is just ordered pairs, points, a table, mapping, or points on a graph. That's discrete data. We're also, while we do this, we're going to do a review of functions. So let's get started. Domain is the same thing as input, and it's your x value. So remember, x is horizontal on the graph. Domain's the same as output. It's also the y, and the y value, can't spell, y value is up and down. So we're going to start with a graph, and this should be review. We're going to start with the graph. We have these points here. I'm going to mark them in red. So we have these 4 points. So our domain, again, remember domain is our x. So we're going to find the x value for each of these points. So this point here, the x value is -2. This point here, the x value is also -2. I don't have to write it twice. This point here, the x value comes down here, so that's 0. And this x value is here, right? We're going down to the x, so that's 1, 2, 3. So that's 3. That's domain x. Now if we do range, which is the y value for all of these points, I'm going to start low down here. So the y value for this point is right here, which is -2. This point has 1 as the y value. This point also has 1, but again, I only need to write it once. And then this point, the y value is 2. So that's my domain and range. Additionally, as a little review on the function, remember a function, it's a function if the x value does not repeat. With a graph, you can do a vertical line test, and if it crosses 2 points, then it is not a function. And if we did a vertical line, if we drew a vertical line here, you can see how it crosses these 2 points, so we know it's not a function. So this one would not be a function. We could also tell it's not a function when we were looking at our points. Remember, we said that this one's x value is -2 and this one's x value is -2. Since they have the same x value, it's not a function. That's the same thing that the vertical line checks for. 2 points with the same x value. So that's with the graph, and that's probably the hardest. This is a mapping. Mapping's kind of easy because with your domain, remember your domain is x. All you have to do is look at your input and write those numbers down. That would be the domain based on that mapping. Range is your y. So you look at your y and you write those numbers down. This input output isn't right because you shouldn't have 2 1s. This is probably meant to be a -1. But you just write them all down like that. I changed this to -1. All right, as ordered pairs, it's also easier. Remember, your domain is your x. So all you have to do is look at your x, right? The first point, the first number on an ordered pair is your x. So your domain is -2, 0, and 3. Again, I didn't write this -2 twice. You only need to write it once. Your range is going to be -2, 1, and 2. And if I'm looking at this and I want to know if it's a function or not, I look at my x values. If they're all different, it's a function. But if they repeat, like this one repeats, it's not a function. No, not a function. Here's a table. same as the points. Domain's your x. So all you have to do is write -2, 0, 3, and range is your y. So all I'm going to write is -2, 1, 2. Again, I didn't write any number twice. And again, just like the last one, -2 repeats as an x, so that's not a function. Not a function. Here's another mapping, and this one's correct. Again, domain is your input, your x. So you just need to write these numbers down, -3, 1, 3, 5. Range is your y, or your output. So you just write these numbers down, -2, 0, 4. And again, function for a mapping, you look at your x's and you see if there's two lines coming from the same x. There's two lines coming from the same x, that is not a function. So if you look at number 1 here, there's a line going to the 0 and a line going to the 4. So if there's two lines coming from the same x, it's not a function. That's how that works. Here's another graph. So I'm going to look at my domain. I'm going to look at my x values for each one of these points. I'm going to start here. This x value is 1, 2, 3, 4 is -4. This x value is -1. This one is -1. This one is also -1, but I don't have to write it twice. This one is +1, and this one is 3. So my range for these points, now I'm going to look at the y value. This one is -3. This one is -2. So the y value for this point is 0, 1, and 2. And again, I should notice when I got those x values that there is 2 points on the same x. So that means it's not a function. I could do the vertical line test, and it's going to tell me the same thing, right? If I drew a vertical line at -1, this point and this point would cross it. So it's not a function. One more of these. So domain, x values. So -3, -2. This one's 0. This one's 1. This one's 3, right? This one's 1, this one's 3. And then range, I go to the y. So go to the y, that's 0. This one's 1. This one's also 1. I don't have to write it twice. This one is 3. And this one is 3. So I don't have to write it twice. Now this one, it is a function. Yes, it's a function because none of these points share the same x. Again, a vertical line test. If I drew a vertical line here, on each of these points, the vertical line only ever cross one x. So that means it is a function. I want to show you on the other one if there's some confusion. Let me change these points to red so it sticks out some more. That's just a vertical line test. You can see how each vertical line on these points only crosses that one point. Whereas this previous example, when we drew this vertical line here, it crossed this point and this point. So that's not a function. With this one, it is a function because it only crossed one point. One more time with this one. Domain your x. So this x value here is -3. This x value is -2. This x value is 0. This one's 1. And this one way over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, it has an x value of 4. Range, I'm going to look at the y. This y value is -2. This one's -1. This one is 0. This one is 2. And this one is 3. And again, this is a function. because none of these points have the same x value, right? That's only 1 point, that's only 1 point, that's only 1 point. Put you a little straighter. That's only 1 point, and that's only 1 point. So it only crossed 1 point, so it is a function. That's it. This is a review, so hopefully you guys remember that. Yeah.